All right, good evening, everyone. Let's begin. So I want to begin by thanking our sponsor for tonight's shiur. To thank Jacob and Chana Miriam Altschuler for dedicating the shiur in commemoration of the yahrzeit of Chana Miriam's father, Yitzchak Shimon ben Yoshua Aryeh Zichron Livracha. We hope that the merit of our Talmud Torah, the Neshama, will have an aliyah and the family a nechama. So with that, I want to begin. And we're going to do a little bit of a pivot. I know that I still owe you more Megillas Ros, but being that this is our pre-Shavuos shiur, so I wanted to focus a little bit on some Shavuos topic as well, a little bit more global than Megillas Ros. We'll tie in Megillas Ros as well. But good news, coming attractions, second day of Yom Tiv, here at Shul, there will be a Megillas Ros shiur as well. We're going to do the fourth chapter of Megillas Ros. So we'll finish off the Megillah on Shavuos itself. But tonight, the Meretz Hashem will use this as an opportunity to kind of zoom out a little bit and focus a bit more just on the general Yom Tov of Shavuos. There should be sheets, hopefully by the other sheets by the bima. Good, yes, no? Good, some. If not, there are plenty up here. Thank you. Atara, maybe just take a few to that. Thank you so much. Okay, so I want to focus on what I think is a fascinating topic in Shavuos in general, which is, at first glance, it may not seem so riveting, but as we get into it a little bit more, you're going to see how incredibly fascinating it is. Take a look at number one on your sheet. The Shulchan Aruch writes, "V'noagim b'chol makom le'echol ma'achalei chalav b'yom rishon shel Shavuos." The minhag is to eat milchigs. The minhag is to eat dairy on Shavuos. Now, it happens to be interesting over here because the Shulchan Aruch writes that the custom is to eat dairy on the first day of Shavuos. Why the first day, not the second day? We're going to leave that on the side right now. But what I want to just draw your attention to is this fascinating minhag of eating milchigs on Shavuos. Now, why is this unique? Because the Rambam writes in number 2 the following. The Rambam writes, "Shivas mea Pesach u'shmones mea Chag im shar yomim tovim kulam asur mesur tanis v'chayiv adam lios bahen sameach v'tov leiv." There is a mitzvah on Yom Tiv of v'samachta b'chagecha, to rejoice on Yom Tiv. Now, of course, it's very interesting that there's a mitzvah to rejoice, right? Why is it interesting that there's a mitzvah to rejoice? Why? Why is that a fascinating mitzvah, v'samachta b'chagecha, to rejoice on Yom Tiv? Remember, Judaism, this is very important, Judaism is an actional religion. Judaism focuses really on what you do and this is going to sound interesting, does not focus on how you feel. Why? Feelings are interesting things, right? Feelings come, feelings go. Some people are more feeling, some people are less feeling. So Judaism, and the beauty of our religion, is that it's an actional religion. I'll give you a perfect example of this, right? There's a mitzvah. We say it every single day in Kriyat Shema. V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha. Love Hashem. How do you perform the mitzvah of loving Hashem? How do you perform the mitzvah? Right? So doing the mitzvahs, daven, or just like love Hashem, right? Love HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I love you. All right, to fulfill the mitzvah. Rashi says something amazing. Rashi says, "Aseh dvarav me'ava." Serve Hashem as if you love Him. Serve Hashem as if you love Him? What does that mean? So Rashi HaKadosh understands that there are many times in life that I am not in love with Hashem. And there are many times like that I'm not in love with Yiddishkeit. Rabbi Soloveitchik points out that when a person loses a loved one, there is the period of time between death and burial is called aninos. And when a person is in onin, the halach is that they are exempt from positive mitzvos. You don't make brachos, you don't daven. It's so strange. Rabbi Soloveitchik posits because the rabbis understood that in the aftermath of loss, a person may be angry with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. A person may be disenchanted by God. So to force a sense of communion, connection between man and God at a time when I'm not feeling it may actually be counterproductive. What's incredibly profound about that is there are times when one is not in love with Hashem. I know it sounds a bit heretical to say it, right? And it sounds but it's true. There are times when we have difficulties with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So v'ahavtas Hashem Elokecha cannot mean to love Hashem, because the Torah can't regulate emotions. The Torah regulates behaviors. So at the end of the day, that's why Rashi says, "V'ahavtas Hashem Elokecha" means serve Hashem as if you love Him. I remember a number of years ago, I taught this concept in Ma'alot, and one of the girls there gave me like the perfect formulation. She said, really what Rashi is saying is, fake it till you make it. In other words, that sometimes in life, you just have to go ahead and put on a show. You have to put on a show. Rashi says, Do your Yiddishkeit, perform your mitzvos as if you love it. And then something amazing happens, which is, over time, you'll come to love it. See, one of the most incredible things in Judaism, many incredible things about Judaism, that we want to talk about tonight, is that we believe in the concept of acharei ha'pu'ulos nimshachos halavavos. See, people like to think that how you feel shapes how you behave, but it's not true. It's how you behave shapes how you feel. So therefore, serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu as if you are in love, and you will actually come to fall in love. Aseh devar mi'av, and this is incredibly important because, we live in a time where everybody wants to be inspired, right? And everybody's looking for inspiration. But here's the interesting part is, the mistake we make is, we are looking to be inspired as opposed to actually doing things to become inspired. If you look to be inspired, so what's going to happen? Oh, that YouTube short, it inspired me so much. It was incredible, right? That video clip, every forwarded many times, right? All these wonderful things. How long does that inspiration last for? How long does it last for? Right? 30 seconds. It's about as long as the clip, right? And that's the mistake. We spend so much time. And again, I'm all for inspirational videos. I try to do a lot of them also, right? So all wonderful. But it's important to understand that's not where inspiration comes from. Inspiration comes from work. Inspiration comes from, we often use this term, that the path to inspiration is paved with arduous and voluminous amounts of uninspired activity. If you want to become inspired, you have to work hard. And working hard is very uninspiring. But if you keep on working hard in an uninspired way, one day you will become inspired. See, only to Jews does that statement make sense, right? To the rest of the world, it's inherently contradictory. It is inherently contradictory, but it's still true. So now coming back. So the Rambam says, there is a mitzvah of v'samachta b'chagecha. There is a mitzvah to rejoice on Yontif. So how do you rejoice on Yontif? So the Rambam says, everybody kind of does things in their own way, whatever makes them happy, so to speak. But one of the things that the Rambam brings up for mitzvah simchas Yontif is basar v'yayin, meat and wine. There is a mitzvah to eat meat and a mitzvah to drink wine on Yontiv. And the Rambam writes about this again in Numbers 2, number 3. We don't have to do it inside. So now if we come full circle, we understand the drama of the Shulchan Aruch's statement. Okay, drama might be a little bit of a stretch, but the drama where the Shulchan Aruch says that on Shavuos, there's a minhag to eat milchigs. There's a minhag to eat dairy. How could there be a minhag to eat dairy on Shavuos? Shavuos is one of the regalim. The regalim, right? Pesach, Shavuos, Sukkos are all governed by the biblical mandate of v'samachta b'chagecha, to rejoice on Yom Tov. The Rambam says one of the ways in which we fulfill that obligation is basar v'yayin, meat and wine. So how could it be then that Shavuos somehow is an exception to this rule of Simchas Yom Tov? So there's a number of different answers to this particular question. If we take a look at number 4, the Mishnah Berurah gives what we'll call the halachic answer. Mishnah Berurah writes, Ein Magen Avram, Vani Shamati Od B'Shem Gadol Echad, Shamar Tam Nachon Lazeh. So the Mishnah Berurah quotes the Magen Avram, who says, I heard an interesting explanation as to why we eat milchigs on Shavuos. Ki be'ez sha'amdu al har Sinai, v'kiblu ha-Torah, v'yardu min ha'ar leveisam, lo matzu ma le'echol tekef ki ma'achali chalav. So listen to this, this is incredible. The Magen Avram writes, so just picture this, right? It's Matan Torah. We go ahead, we stand at the base of Mount Sinai, right? Kadosh Baruch Hu comes down, gives us the first couple of dibros, first couple of commandments, and then Moshe Rabbeinu gives us this whole body of Torah. Included in this whole body of Torah are the laws of kashrus. Now, the laws of kashrus dictate that if you want to eat meat, you require ritual slaughter. Not only that, but ritual slaughter, shechita, has a whole volume of halachos associated with it. Not only that, if it's a non-domesticated animal, there's also a concept called kisedam, covering up the blood. And there's malicha, and there's salting, and there's all these other halachos that are associated with kashrus. So the Magen Avram says something amazing. We had this incredibly inspirational experience by Har Sinai. Everybody goes back to their tent, and they're like, whew, famished. Let's eat something. And then we quickly realize that's what? We're not prepared to eat meat. Why are we not prepared to eat meat? Number one, all of the utensils that we had required kashering. Because remember, the Jewish people, it's not that we weren't careful with the laws of kashrus before Sinaitic revelation, it's that for us, there were no laws of kashrus before Sinaitic revelation. So now suddenly again, when I left my tent, I could eat whatever I want. Now I'm coming back to my tent, I am now bound by this new set of halachos called Hilchos Kashrus, which are very intricate, especially when it comes to, again, shechita and preparation of meat. So the Magen Avraham says, we came home, we wanted to eat, and the truth is the only thing we could eat was milchigs, was dairy. So it's not the most inspirational answer, but it's a utilitarian answer. So to kind of recreate the fact that our ancestors, after Sinaitic revelation, just were able to eat milchigs. They weren't able to eat, not that dairy, not that the laws of dairy, not that there aren't laws of milchigs as well. Of course, I mean, you have to get pride of the farm. I'm sure they have pride of the farm in the desert also, right? All the different things, but much less halachos concerning the consumption of dairy than ultimately any fleishiks. He goes on, he says, to prepare meat, you need a lot of preparation. Lishchot b'sakin baduk, you have to use a particular kind of knife. As HaKadosh Baruch Hu told you, you have to go ahead and remove different veins and sinews, and to remove the blood, and to salt the meat, and you need new utensils or to kasher the utensils. Therefore, we came back, and at the end of the day, there was nothing to eat but milchiks until we kind of readied our kitchens, until we kashered everything, until we became a little bit more proficient in ritual slaughter. This is a classic answer, but there is a gaping hole in the answer. What's the gaping hole? If you take a look at number 5, the Gemara Masechah Shabbos says, there's one problem, that the Torah was given on Shabbos. Torah was given on Shabbos. There's an interesting discussion, and not our topic for now. There is a machlokes as to which date the Torah was given on. Was the Torah given on the 6th of Sivan or the 7th of Sivan? Which, of course, is such an overwhelming idea that there is calendrical ambiguity as to the date of Sinaitic revelation. The most important event, not just for the history of the Jewish people, the history of mankind, yet we're not exactly sure which date. Okay, we'll save that for a different time. The problem is, even had we known the laws of shechita, no shechita could have occurred. You're not allowed to shecht on Shabbos. You could shecht on Yantiv, but you're not allowed to shecht on Shabbos anyway. So this idea that the reason we eat milchiks is because we came back to our tents and we weren't able to prepare anything doesn't really seem to work well with the Gemara that says that halacha l'maisa, practically speaking, they couldn't have shechted anyway because it was Shabbos. Okay, but nevertheless, that's our first answer. We eat milchiks on Shavuos because that's what our ancestors ate after Sinaitic revelation, because they did not yet have the opportunity to slaughter properly, to kasher the utensils, and to be able to prepare meat in accordance with halacha. Okay, a second approach. Take a look at number 7. The Shulchan Aruch writes an interesting halacha. He says, V'nira tamshu kimo shnei tavshilin shalochim b'leil HaPesach zecher lePesach v'zecher leChagiga. So listen to this. So the Shulchan Aruch says something interesting. The Shulchan Aruch says, at the Pesach Seder, we have 2 cooked items, right? We have on the Seder plate, you have the shank bone, or people use the shank bone. It's a roasted piece of meat and a roasted egg, right? What are the symbolism of those 2 items? Those represent 2 different sacrifices. The roasted piece of meat represents the Karban Pesach, the Paschal Lamb, and the roasted egg ultimately represents the Karban Chagiga. Every Yom Tov, every one of the regalim, there was a karban called the Karban Chagiga that you would bring. So the egg represents the Chagiga. So look what the Shulchan Aruch writes in number 7. End of the first line in number 7. Kain, ochlim ma'achal chalav, v'achakach ma'achal basar. So first of all, I want to point out something very interesting. The Shulchan Aruch's understanding over here of eating milchiks on Shavuos is not a milchiks meal. Essentially, it's a milchiks appetizer. I tell this to my wife every single year. I lose, but it's a milchiks appetizer. That's the idea over here. You're supposed to start your meal with something dairy, and then ultimately transition to a meat meal. Now, by the way, just even before we go on, this makes a lot of sense, especially in lieu of how we started, right? There has to be meat at the meal. Why does there have to be meat at the meal? Why? Simchas Yontav, v'samachta b'chagecha. So therefore, the Shulchan Aruch says, really, you start with dairy, and then you go, and then you transition into meat. Now, by the way, I'll just point out, we'll talk about this, but there's different customs. People do eat full dairy meals as well. But it's just important to understand, one should not make Shavuos a completely dairy yontiv. This is not culinary advice. This is like halacha, right? It is important to have meat over some point of Shavuos, because again, there's a mitzvah of simchas yontiv. How you choose to position that, where you choose to position that, that's up to you, but meat should make an appearance at some point over the course of yontiv. So the Shulchan Aruch says, therefore the Shulchan Aruch's model is, first eat something dairy, and then go to something meat. Now, why? What's the importance of that model? And here the Shulchan Aruch says something amazing. He says, what does that do? He says, "Utzrichin lahavi imahem beis lechem." This is incredible. When you switch from dairy to meat, so let's say you have a dairy appetizer and then you go to a meat main course, you're not allowed to keep the same bread on the table, right? Why? Because bread that's on the table with a dairy meal should not be placed on the same table with a meat meal. Since bread is something that's touched, that's used, so there's a concern. That's why, again, in general, by the way, just as an aside, the halacha is, we actually just had this in, we did this in Daf Yomi, like last week. The halacha is one is not allowed to make milchigs bread or fleishiks bread. Bread always has to be parif. Bread always has to be parif. And the reason for that is because since bread is a staple of a meal and bread can be used interchangeably, there's a halachic danger with making bread of one type of, this comes up often, especially if a person is making challah, right, on Erev Shabbos or Thursday, and also cooking other things in the oven. One has to be careful not to go ahead and bake challah at the same time that one is baking uncovered fleishiks, because then effectively you make your challah fleishiks, which is coming hilchos kashrus shiur, right? Which is problematic. Bread always has to be parif. Bread always has to be parif. So look what the Shulchan Aruch says. It's incredible. So Shulchan Aruch says, so watch this. So now I have milchigs appetizer. I have my milchigs appetizer, I have my cheese blintzes. Okay, we're done with the milchigs, going to bring out the fleishiks. When you do that, you need new bread. You need new bread. So the old bread has to, right, we'll call it the bread that was there with milchigs, has to leave the table, and new bread has to come for the fleishik part of the meal. So the Shulchan Aruch says something amazing. By doing this, by definition, what you require are 2 loaves. Now, why are 2 loaves important? So he says something amazing over here. He says, "Utzrikan lahavi imahem beis lechem ala shulchan, shu b'makom hamizbeach, v'yesh bazeh zikaron lebeis halechem shel makriv b'yom bikurim." There was a special carbon that was brought in the Beis Hamikdash in Shavuos called the shtei halechem, 2 loaves. 2 loaves. This is absolutely beautiful. So really what the Shulchan Aruch is saying is like this. The power of eating milchiks together with fleishiks, in other words, in succession, milchiks and then fleishiks, is that it requires you to bring out 2 separate loaves. And ultimately, again, by bringing out 2 separate loaves, that reminds us of the sacrifice of the carbon that was brought in the Beis Hamikdash on Shavuos. And it was a sacrifice that was comprised of 2 loaves. 2 loaves. What's called in halacha, it's called shtei halechem. Brought down. So it's incredible. So according to this approach, it has nothing to do with what happened by Har Sinai, right? But instead, it is our way of remembering that which was done in the Beis Hamikdash. On Shavuos in the Beis Hamikdash, they brought 2 loaves. So too, again, on our table, because you have milchiks and then fleishiks, we also have 2 loaves. Now, you might be thinking that we have 2 loaves anyway because of Lechem Mishnah. So there's a whole other discussion over here, which is whether or not there is a halacha of Lechem Mishnah on Yantiv. Right? Everybody agrees, of course, the concept of Lechem Mishnah applies on Shabbos. Whether it applies on Yom Tov is a different discussion. We're gonna leave that on the side. We're just focusing right on the symbolisms. So again, and the Shulchan Aruch writes this in number 8. We're not going to get into this, but the Shulchan Aruch in number 8 writes this halacha. Yes.
What if you finish all your bread once you're done with the milk? If there's no more bread, do you still have to bring a new?
Yeah, you bring another loaf.
Why do you have to? All the bread is gone.
All the bread is gone, like in the world, not just. You got to pace yourself. All right? According to this approach. Oh, you're saying you already had the 2 loaves? I guess not. I don't know if the symbolism would require you to then bring a 3rd loaf. I don't think it would require that. But again, in line with this symbolism, in other words, the symbolism works by having 1 loaf at each part of the meal. I don't know that you'd be required to then bring a 3rd loaf to the table. I don't think one would be obligated to do that. So again, this is incredible. So what you have over here really, so far just keep the progression. So according to the first approach, we have ultimately milchiks. Remember, the first approach doesn't really have fleishiks as part of your meal. It just has milchiks. It just has dairy to recreate that which occurred to our ancestors when they came back after Sinaitic revelation. Second approach, this is a carbonic symbolism. The same way in Shavuos in the Beis Hamikdash, they brought a carbon called the Shtei Alechem, the 2 loaves. So on our table, we have 2 loaves as well. But I want to draw your attention to a last approach, which is source number 9. And with this, we're going to spend the rest of our time in Meretz Hashem this evening. There's an incredible medrash. Yes. No, I didn't say that. I did not. No.
If you have 2 loaves for the Milchigs, then you need 2 loaves for the Fleischig Suda,
No. You don't need 2.
You use the loaf that was on the Milchig, the extra loaf on the Milchig Suda for the Fleischig.
All right. Okay. Let me refocus the group here a little bit. Right. Okay, let's not get caught up in the halachic details of loaves right now. I just mentioned on the side that there happens to be a dispute whether or not one uses lechem mishnah on yantiv or not. We use lechem mishnah, right? We pass that we use lechem mishnah. The Gemara records a machlokes as to whether or not lechem mishnah is just a din on Shabbos or a din on yantiv. I was pointing out over here is that the Shulchan Aruch is highlighting that the concept of milchigs, what's the role of milchigs on Shavuos? Is milchigs by definition, or transition from milchigs to fleishigs, by definition is going to require another loaf, which means that at your meal, by definition, you will end up having a minimum of 2 loaves at your table. The symbolism of 2 loaves is that again on Shavuos, the carbon shtei halechem, 2 loaves, was brought at the table. So again, even if someone wasn't using lechem mishnah, if you were transitioning from a milchigs to a fleishigs meal, by definition, you would be required to have 2 distinct loaves. You know, let me just take questions later, Amirat Hashem. Let me just get through this last piece. So now, take a look at number 9. So a third approach. So now, this is going to take us a little bit in a different direction, because up until now, again, we've been primarily focused either on historical symbolism or ultimately, again, Beis Hamikdash, carbonic symbolism. This third approach now takes us in a dramatically different direction. Take a look, number 9, the Medrash. So the Medrash writes as follows: Am Rabbi Avo, b'shem Rabbi Yochanan. It's a really beautiful and moving Medrash. Kishenasan HaKadosh Baruch Hu es HaTorah, tzipor lo tzabach, of lo parach, shor lo ga'ah, ofanim lo afu. So Rabbi Avo says in Rabbi Yochanan, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave the Torah, ultimately, again, the birds did not chirp. The birds did not fly. An ox did not, I don't know what's the sound that an ox makes. No, donkey brays, right? I don't know what an ox does. All right, whatever, makes it sound. Right, the shiur didn't moo, didn't make it sound. Ofanim lo afu. The angels did not flap their wings. Srafim lo amru kadosh kadosh. Even Srafim, which are the highest level angels, did not say kadosh kadosh. They did not sing their shiur to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hayam lo nizdaza. There were no waves in the sea. There was no current in the sea. Habrios lo dibru. No human being uttered a word. Ela ha'olam shosek umachrish. The world was absolutely and completely silent. Such a gripping medrash. The world was completely and absolutely silent. Man was silent, nature was silent, the animals were silent, the sea was silent. V'yotza hakol anochi Hashem Elokecha. And that silence, what broke the silence? What broke the silence was the Ribono Shel Olam. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was remember Hashem says the first 2 dibros. Hashem says the first 2 commandments. And then after that, Klal Yisrael couldn't take it anymore, so Moshe Rabbeinu did the rest. But Anochi Hashem Elokecha, complete and utter, right? It's hard for us to even imagine what that means, right? Complete silence, not a sound, nothing, and then Anochi Hashem Elokecha. So number 10, the Be'er HaChaim writes as follows. He says, let's just look at this piece together. He says, V'tzarech lahavin, ma rotzu chazal lohodienu, shesra demama muchlatas ba'olam, kishach l'shmachris. Now, I want to point out something interesting, which is the concept of silence as associated with HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not unique to this episode, right? We have this in Unisana Tokef, right? In one of the most moving moments in Chazar Sashatz on Yomim Nora. And when we say Unisana Tokef, so what do we say? Ukol demama daka. It's interesting that the Ribono Shalom, based on the pasuk of the Ribono Shalom, is not described. Lo beruach, Hashem doesn't come in the strong winds. He doesn't come in the lightning and thunder. He comes in the kol dimama daka, in the faint and silent sound. So we see this symbolism of silence and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But what is the Medrash coming to teach us over here? So the Medrash is setting this scene that Klal Yisrael is standing. You have to just appreciate what's happening over here. There's 3.5 million people who left Egypt. They're standing encamped around a mountain. They're quiet. Do you know what that means for Jews to be quiet? Right? Do you know what that means for 3.5 million Jews to be quiet? Everything is utterly silent. To the point that what breaks the silence? The divine voice of Anochi Hashem Elokecha. So asks the Be'er HaChaim, what's the message? So you have to understand something. Medrash, everybody loves Medrash, because like we all love exciting and intriguing stories. But Medrash is not here simply to tell us stories. Medrash is here to teach us lessons. So obviously when the Medrash highlights this idea that it's absolutely silent, the Medrash is coming to teach something. What is the Medrash coming to highlight? So the Be'er HaChaim writes something beautiful. He says, so b'ma shesara dimama muchlatas ba'olam, kisha Baruch Hu hechriz es hadibra harishon shel Anochi Hashem Elokecha. So what does it mean? What is this utter silence in the preceding the first of the 10 commandments? Fourth line down in number 10. Uberu tzadikim omek hadvarim. So the great Hasidic masters explained this in a deep way. Shebe'es matan Torah nigmar ha'olam hazeh the hischil olam chadash. So this is incredible. You know, when we think about Matan Torah, when we think about Kabbalah Satorah, Sinaitic revelation, so what is it exactly that we are celebrating? What is it exactly that we're focusing on? So of course, on the most basic level, we receive the Torah, right? Our Torah, the Torah itself is understood in so many different ways. On one hand, Torah is a body of knowledge through which ultimately we're able to live our lives. Right? Torah represents an insight into the divine mind. Torah is the Ribono Shalom, and the Ribono Shalom is Torah. So on one hand, so Torah is the very guidebook. It's the very playbook for how to go ahead and live our lives. The Medrash also refers to Torah as the daughter of the Ribono Shalom. And when HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the Torah, He Kiviyachol gave us His daughter in marriage. Giving your daughter, so to speak, to someone is a tremendous, tremendous thing for a parent. So for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who loves His daughter, Torah, so much, to give her, so to speak, to someone is an overwhelming thing, which represents a covenantal relationship. There's a marriage. That's why Har Sinai is often called a marriage between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael. But on a deeper level, what the Be'er HaChaim is highlighting over here is Kabbalah Satorah represented a new world. There was the world pre-Sinaitic revelation and the world post-Sinaitic revelation. And they're two different worlds. They're two different worlds. The world as we knew it up to Sinaitic revelation ended, and then a new world started the moment Hashem said, Anochi Hashem Elokecha. A brand new world. Listen to what it says. Shebe'es matan Torah, nigmara olam hazeh. Right? At the time when HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the Torah, the world as we knew it came to an end. Vehischil olam chadash. A new world began. Ve'ein shum shaychus bein ha'olam shelifnei Kabbalas HaTorah la'olam shela'achareha. And there is no connection. This is incredible. There is no connection to the pre-Sinaitic world to the post-Sinaitic world. They're two different worlds. Now, I just want to point out to you, by the way, how this manifests itself in a variety of different ways. I'll give you an example. Right? From where do we know that there is a mitzvah of bris milah? Right? The mitzvah, a Jewish boy, 8 days old, give him a bris milah. Where do we know that from? Avraham Avinu. Right? Classic answer, Avraham Avinu. That's not from Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu was the first person to engage in bris milah, but that's not where our mitzvah comes from. Right? Not even Yitzchak. Where does it come from? It comes from Parshas Tazria. In Parshas Tazria, in Chumash Vayikra, the Torah says, "Ubayom hashmini yimol b'sar olasar." The Torah talks about the halachos of pregnancy and childbirth, and then after that, the Torah says, if a woman has a boy, on the 8th day he gets a circumcision. Why does the Torah have to say that? If in Bereshis we already learned about Avraham Avinu, So the Yerushalmi, the Jerusalem Talmud, espouses a principle. Ein lemeidin davar mikodem matan Torah. Anything that occurred before Sinaitic revelation does not generate halachic obligation. It's incredible. So I know Avraham Avinu got a bris milah. That's great. Good for you. I mean, I don't mean like that, right? I don't know. Shkoyach Avraham Avinu, incredible. Mesiras nefesh, incredible. But that's not what generates the binding obligation for us, right? That's Avram. That's before Matan Torah. That's part of a different world. That's why, if you'll notice, by the way, there is not one halacha, with exceptions. For example, Peru or Avu, right, which is like a global mankind mitzvah. So certain global things may be learned out. But in terms of like Taryag mitzvahs, 630 mitzvahs, there is nothing binding that is learned from before Sinaitic revelation. Think about this. Even in Shmos, where the Torah goes through all the halachos of Karban Pesach, let's say in the parasha of Bo, Va'era Bo, the Torah restates all of those halachos later on. Why? Because we don't learn out binding obligations from the pre-Sinaitic world. Because the pre-Sinaitic world was one world, post-Sinaitic world is another. This is why, by the way, the Gemara says something amazing. So listen to this Gemara. I should really put this on the sheet. The Gemara says, when we stood by Har Sinai, the Gemara says, Paska Zehu Masan Shal Nachash, which literally means the venom. The venom of the snake evaporated. What's the venom of the snake? Going back to the story of Adam and Chava, right? The Nachash that essentially enticed Chava to sin, Adam and Chava to sin. So the sin of Adam and Chava is often referred to as the sin of the venom of the Nachash. The Gemara says, when we stood by Har Sinai, the venom evaporated, which means from creation until Har Sinai, mankind was marked by the initial first sin of Adam and Chava. That marked humanity. That changed the trajectory of humanity. When we stood by Har Sinai, that evaporated. There was the world before Har Sinai and the world after Har Sinai. And those two worlds are disconnected. They have nothing to do with each other. They are separate worlds. He goes on, he says, Ve'in shum shaychus bein ha'olam shelifnei Kabbalas HaTorah li'olam shalachara. There is no connection between the world before Matan Torah and the world afterwards, meaning that Matan Torah, what is the greatness of Sinaitic revelation? What is the true greatness? It's a brand new beginning. Ki kol ha'olam hishtana legamrei min ha'kotza lekotza. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, we said Na'aseh v'nishma, and Hashem initiated the conveyance of the Torah to us, the entire world changed. Lachein, listen to this, Be'ez, and this is so profound because we often think of Kabbalas HaTorah, Sinaitic revelation, as an event which changed us. It changed us. What the Be'er Chaim is saying is, it didn't just change us. It changed the world. The world before Kabbalas HaTorah was one world. The world after Kabbalas Sinaitic revelation was a different world. And those two worlds are disconnected. Lachein, be'ez hachrazas aseres hadibro shenitnu liyisrael lo haisa shum bria she'asta pu'ulas gashmius kevan shenifsika chiyusan v'rak achar kach hischilu lachios kebria chadasha. This is incredible. So the Be'er HaChaim says, what does the Medrash mean when it says everything fell silent? Everything fell silent. It's almost what happened is, in that moment, everything stopped functioning. The world as a whole shut down. The birds stopped chirping. The birds stopped flying. The malachim stopped singing. The sea stopped flowing. Everything stopped. For that moment, everything stopped. And what happened right after Anochi Hashem Elokecha? What happened? Everything started up again. Why did everything have to stop and everything start up again? A rebirth. And in fact, if you just keep your place in 10, but just go back to number 11. Actually, we're not to number 11. Let's finish up number 10. He says, so this is incredible. So first of all, and such a dramatic medrash. Another HaKadosh Baruch Hu says is, Chavra, Kabbalas HaTorah is not just about receiving a beautiful, body of holy law. This is about a new start to the world. Everything is starting new. So how do you see the newness? How do you see the newness? Literally, can you imagine being in a world where everything falls silent? No one's talking, nothing's happening, the animals aren't moving, the ocean isn't moving, everything becomes completely still. Kadosh Baruch Hu says, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, and everything springs back into life. Brand new world. Brand new world. There was the old world of pre-Kabbalah Satorah, new world of post-Kabbalah Satorah. And the Baruch Chaim writes something very beautiful on the bottom. He says, V'eschaskus zu chayiv adam lilmod mimamad har Sinai. Actually, before we get to this, now take a look at number 11 for just a second. Look at, so the Medrash. I'm sure many of you have seen Medrash writes, V'hayu bem koach lamod, shekevan sheba'u l'Sinai, v'nikla lahem, parcha nishmasam. There's another Medrash. The Medrash writes that ultimately when we came to Har Sinai, parcha nishmasam. Parcha nishmasam literally means our souls left our bodies, which sounds like what's happening over here. What's happening? We died and came back to life. And now the Medrash makes sense. It's not just man. It's almost like everything, so to speak, is dying and then coming back to life. Everything is falling silent. Everything is coming to rest. And then ultimately, again, being reborn a second time. Incredible. Man, birds, malachim, everything. So what's the message? What's the message? So now go back to number 10. The last paragraph there. V'eschaskus, last paragraph on the right side. V'eschaskus zu, chayiv ha'adam lo mehar Sinai. This is the takeaway lesson from Sinaitic revelation. Shekulam nepchu lios nivroim chadoshim. Everyone was reborn into a new entity. He says, V'hachi nami b'cho. So again, do you want to understand the profundity of Sinaitic revelation? Because we think about this, sometimes it's hard for us on Shavuos to fully, I've often found that in general, Shavuos is one of the hardest Yamim Tovim, like to tap into what is it exactly that what's the message I'm tapping into over here, right? Pesach, it's very clear. We're all enslaved by something. So just like our ancestors went free from the servitude of Egypt, I could free myself from whatever is shackling me in life. Sukkos, for decades we lived under the divine protection, divine providence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right? So too, again, we leave the comfort and safety of our homes. We enter into the protective embrace of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I understand that. What's Shavuos? What's Shavuos? Shavuos is Kabbalah Torah. Okay, so I'm accepting Torah. Yesterday I didn't accept Torah. Right? 3 days ago I didn't accept Torah. Right? So what is it exactly that I'm trying to do? And the Be'er Chaim writes something so beautiful. He says, I'm trying to tap into that energy of Sinaitic revelation, which is the creation of a brand new world. The power of Matan Torah was not simply the receiving of a body of law, but it was the ability to enter into a new world, to start a new chapter of life, to, so to speak, still my old self and become someone dramatically new. The birds became new. The ocean became new. The malachim became new. Our neshamas left our bodies and then came back. We came back as someone new. What's the power of the Yom Tov of Shavuos? Shekulam nepchu lios divraim chadoshim. Chachanami b'chol shana v'shana yesh biyad kol echad ve'echad lishtanos v'lahapik libria chadasha. The power of Shavuos is you have the ability to become someone new. He says, Al yidei sheposeach niyar chalak v'chadash umasiach daitu mikala mechsholim she'avru alav. The power of Shavuos is to start a new page. Turn over a new page. Turn over a new leaf. What was. What was. The old world was the old world. I don't have a connection to that world anymore. That's not my world anymore. Shavuos comes. And just like thousands of years ago, the entire world became new. Every single year on Shavuos, this same energy comes into the world. And you could tap into that energy if you want it. If you want a new life, if you want, or a new page, right? Or a new book, or a new slate, or a new personality, or a new persona. If you want to become someone different, if you want to lead your life in a different way, if you're tired of being stuck in the old world of bad habits, negative traits, deleterious behaviors, and you want to try to do something different, that's the power of Shavuos. You'll say, but change is so hard. Change is hard, except Shavuos has it built into the fabric of the day. Because the same way everything became silent right before Anochi Hashem Elokecha. So ultimately, again, that power, says the Be'er HaChaim, is almost like endowed in the Yom Tov every single year. And it resurfaces every single year on Shavuos. Once again, the universe becomes silent. Everything stops and restarts. It's interesting. There's a lot of machlokes. When we read the Aseres HaDibros on the first day of Shavuos in the morning, so there's a big dispute whether or not one is supposed to stand up for the Aseres HaDibros. So many opinions say if you don't normally stand for Kriyas HaTorah, for Torah reading, that you should not stand up for the Ten Commandments, because it looks like you're ascribing, more importance to one part of the Torah than the other part of the Torah, and that's wrong. All parts of the Torah are equal importance. Rabbi Soloveitchik said, no, you should stand up for the reading of the Ten Commandments. Why? He says, because you're not ascribing more importance to one section over the other. What you're doing is you're recreating Sinaitic revelation. When our ancestors received the Torah thousands of years ago, they were standing. When I stand up, what I'm doing is I'm saying, I want to recreate this experience for myself. Which experience am I recreating? I'm recreating the experience of entering into a new world. That if I want a new world for myself, if I want a new world, a new life for myself, right? How many of us go through life, wondering, if only I would have done this, or if only I would have done that, all right? We all have things like that in our lives where we wish we would have chosen differently and gone in a different direction. And then we realize I can't spend my life, focusing on the missed opportunities of the past. It comes down to Shavuos, and Shavuos, the energy that Shavuos brings with it is a new world. You want a new world for yourself? You want a new world for yourself? It's yours for the taking. You want a clean slate? Now again, clean slate doesn't mean everything's going to go your way. New world doesn't mean you're going to get everything you want, but new world says you could start over. You could start over. And the baggage of the old world doesn't have to follow you into the new world. Look what the Be'er HaChaim writes. He says, look at the left-hand paragraph for number 10. He says, remove your mind. What does it require for you to enter into this new world? Just decide to live better, to be better, to do better. And you have a brand new world in front of you. If somebody were to stop you and ask you, what would you give for a new start in life? Right? What would you do? What would you give for a clean slate? What would I give? I'd give anything for a clean slate. You know what the amazing part is? I don't have to give anything. I just have to be willing to tap into the energy of the Yom Tov. That is the Yom Tov Shavuos. And by the way, I just want to point out, now getting off topic for a second, when you understand this dynamic of Shavuos, the whole rest of even like Sinaitic narrative makes so much more sense, right? Klal Yisrael, unfortunately, just 40 days later, what do we do? We build the golden calf. Now you understand the severity of that act. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, what is the matter with you? I just gave you a brand new world, right? Even the residue from the original sin of Adam and Chava, from the Nachash, was gone. You're free, you're pure, it's a new world, and now you tainted it so profoundly and so severely. That's the severity of the Chet HaEgel. But again, come back to Shavuos. This is the power of Shavuos. The power of Shavuos is the power of a new world. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us the Torah, and the idea is every single year, there is a brand new Kabbalah story. In general, in Yiddishkeit, we do not celebrate historical occurrences. This is very important to understand. Our Yomim Tovim are never about remembering that which happened. We remember historical occurrences in order to go ahead and endow them with, or endow our contemporary experience with profound meaning. So for example, by Pesach, right? What do we say by Pesach? What do we say by Pesach? Chayiv Adam Miros as Atzmo Kil Yatzim Mitzrayim. Right? I'm not just supposed to remember that my ancestors left Egypt. I'm supposed to see myself as if I left Egypt. When we go into the Sukkot, right? I don't remember that my ancestors lived in huts. Rather, what do? I go into a hut myself. On Shavuos, I am not remembering that we received the Torah thousands of years ago. On Shavuos, what happens? We receive the Torah. Every single year on Shavuos, there is another Sinaitic revelation, which is beautiful by itself, but now I know what it really means. What it means is just as the world stood still in those moments before Hashem said, Anochi Hashem Elokecha. And when he said, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, everything restarted, a brand new world. If you want that brand new world, it is waiting for you come Tuesday night. if you want it. Now, it's not going to force itself upon you, right? It's not going to, you don't have to take it. But if you want it, if you're looking for a new page in life, if you're looking for a fresh start, if you're looking to put some distance between yourself and your past, because maybe I'm not so happy with how I've done things in the past, then Shavuos is the holiday for you. Because Shavuos is the Yom Tov where everything starts over. And now, coming full circle, now I think we can begin to understand the role of Milchigs. Perhaps, this is the role of Milchigs on Yom Tov. The first food that a child eats coming into this world is chalav, is his mother's milk. That's the first form of sustenance. Before anything else, right? Before all the wonderful delicacies that this world has to offer, the first thing that ever passes that child's lips is chalav, is its mother's milk. So perhaps that's the role of milchigs on Shavuos. Milchigs, dairy, is the food of newborns. It's the food of babies. Everybody likes a nice steak, but don't try giving that to an infant. It's a disaster, right? Milk is the food of infants. So perhaps on the Yom Tov of Shavuos, when we celebrate a newfound infancy, we celebrate a newfound birth. Therefore, the halacha says, eat milchigs. Because sometimes things that you know in your heart or in your mind or in your neshama don't really become real until they enter into the world of physicality. It's kind of like on Rosh Hashanah. Like on Rosh Hashanah, we have all of these things, simna milsa, right? You ever wonder, take a step back, we're eating all of these foods, right? We dip our apple into honey, it should be a sweet new year. I don't know, what is that? That's the best I got? I don't know, open a sefer, do chesed, I'm dipping apples into honey, right? I'm eating heads of fish, this is what makes it happen. Is this actually going to do something to make it a good year for me? Akash Baruch Hu is going to say, Silver did a great job dipping that apple into honey. You know what? I'm putting him in the book of life. Right? What does that do with anything? So of course, dipping the apple into honey does absolutely nothing for your judgment. But what does it do? It reminds me that if I want to, I can make it a sweet new year. It reminds me that if I want to, I could be a head and not a tail. It reminds me that if I want to turn around my life, I could do it. So Chazal often created these physical behaviors for us so that we can internalize certain hashkafic realities. So while it's beautiful to say that Shavuos is a Yom Tov in which the world starts and you can start all over again, sometimes if it just lives over here or even just lives over here, it's not real. But now that I'm having milchigs, I'm mamish like a baby. I'm mamish like a baby. I'm a newborn. I'm a newborn eating milchigs on Yom Tov, where normally, again, it would normally be milk, meat and wine. There should still be plenty of wine. But again, with milchigs, dairy, to highlight. And by the way, I think this also fits in. One of the things that always bothered me about Shavuos, to be honest, is staying up the whole night. Probably, I think I'm like a Gilgal of a very old man. But I never understood it. I never could wrap my head around the minhag to stay up all night and learn. Right? Why? Because first of all, again, rarely are people utilizing that entire time. Right? That's number one. Number two, what does staying up the entire first night of Shavuos usually do? Usually it destroys the rest of Yom Tov, right? You come to lunch the first day, you're not sure what exactly is going on. You go back to sleep in the afternoon for a whole bunch of hours. You can't sleep that night. Everything is off. A week and a half later, you're still cranky. Right? And so you wonder net, what exactly did I gain from this experience? But maybe it's all part of the newborn motif. What don't newborns do? They don't sleep. So think about this. The Yom Tov of Shavuos comes, and how am I bringing in this Yom Tov? I'm drinking milk, and I'm not sleeping. I'm drinking milk, and I'm not sleeping. What are Chazal trying to do to me? And the answer is they're trying to remind me over and over and over. Mazel tov. Mazel tov. Your world has just been recreated. Mazel tov, you've just stepped into a new world. You're a little baby. You're a little newborn. Your whole life, you know what the most incredible thing, when you see babies, it's always interesting to see how adults behave around babies, right? How very proper people, right? And adult people, when they're in babies, they descend, right? And they regress. It's an incredible thing. right? What's the pshat? Like, why do people go so crazy? Because deep down, do you know what's so beautiful about babies? Is you see something so pure, so holy, so untainted, so innocent, and you just see something that has its whole life in front of it. And I don't know about you, when I see babies, I'm like, there's a part of me that says, I wish I could go back. Like, I wish I could start again, obviously armed with all the stuff that I know now. I wish that I could go back again and how differently I would live my life going forward. So of course, that's not fully possible, but it's partially possible. Comes the Yom Tov of Shavuos, there is an absolute opportunity to be reborn, to start again. Drink your milk, stay up all night, right? You don't have to stay up all night, but you understand the symbolism, right? Drinking, right? Milchigs, staying up all night. I'm literally a newborn. Just like the world started again thousands of years ago, that same energy enters into our world every single Shavuos. And if we are brave enough and courageous enough to take advantage of it, because again, it does require bravery and courage, because remember again, accepting and embracing a new world is very hard, because what that says is, I'm ready to live differently, and I'm ready to behave differently, and I'm ready to act differently. And if we're honest, I don't know that most of us are actually prepared to do that. More often than not, we are creatures of habit, right? We've established a persona, we've established behaviors, and we kind of get comfortable in those things. And we all love to talk about new beginnings, but the truth is, I'm happy to talk about it, then I'm happy to forget about it, right? Because I've kind of carved out like a niche for my life. I'm on life cruise control. I have a derech. I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm going, and I'm good. I'm good. But Shavuos comes along and says, if you're brave enough and you're courageous enough to want to live life differently, your world is ready to be reset. You know how like sometimes if you ever encounter like a problem on your phone, where sometimes, if you use up too much of your memory, you have to go ahead and restore factory settings. It's a scary button to push on your iPhone, right? Restore factory settings. If you ever did it, so like there's this pachad, right? Because if you restore factory settings, what happens? You're gonna lose every message, you're gonna lose every single thing. So having had to do this a couple of times throughout my life, the pachad that's there before is overwhelming, because like, I didn't get to all this, when you push it, it is the most liberating feeling in the world. Why? Because literally, it's like, oh my gosh, like a blank slate. Like, whew, there's nothing to answer, there's nothing to respond. I mean, there's plenty to respond to, right? There's nothing to, right? It's like a tabla rasa, brand new slate. Shavuos is the restore to factory settings of our life. If you want it, it's there for the taking. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't foist it upon you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't force it upon you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't make you take advantage of it. But if you want it, it absolutely and unequivocally is there. And that's the role of Milchigs, to remind us that if we want our world to start anew, if we want to be reborn, that possibility is there. And I think, and by the way, just tying into Rus, so now, because I know it's supposed to be a Rush here, right? We'll do Rus, like I said, on Yom Tov, Emirat Hashem. But again, now you also understand we've learned so much about Rus over the past weeks. And one of the most dramatic things that we learned about Rus, especially in last week's shiur, remember again, when Rus comes to Boaz in the threshing floor, right? And she takes off his shoes. Remember again, we spoke about this extensively, that what was she saying to him? If you want, you could have a new life, right? Boaz is sleeping on the threshing floor because he can't go into his home. Why can't he go into his home? Because he's lost his wife, he's lost his children, he's lost everything in life. See, he just sleeps in the threshing floor because he can't bear the pain of going into an empty house. And he is immobilized and paralyzed by his pain. And Rus takes off his shoes to symbolize, if you want, we could build something new together. Rus is the story of birth and rebirth and rebirth. If you think about, Rus was reborn 3 times over the course of one Megillah. Once, the death of her first husband, right? A second time when she goes in and she marries Boaz, and then Boaz dies shortly after their marriage. And Rus has to reinvent herself a 3rd time. Rus is the master of birth and rebirth. Amongst the many reasons that we read this Megillah over the course of Shavuos, this is a primary one. You want to see a living, breathing example of someone who is able to create and recreate themselves perpetually? That was Rus. That was the grandmother of David HaMelech. That was the mother of the Messianic line. If you want to create greatness in yourself and greatness in this world, then you have to learn how to eat milchigs. Then you have to learn how to stay up all night. Then you have to learn how to almost embrace a childlike appreciation of a new beginning. And I think this becomes our avot in these days leading up to Shavuos. You know, sometimes we don't fully prepare for Yantiv. By the time we get to Yantiv, we're just so tired that, just kind of roll into it. But think about this. Come Tuesday night, if you listen carefully, not with your ears, but with your neshama, you will hear absolutely nothing. When you light candles on Shavuos night, in that moment, if you listen with your neshama, you will hear deafening silence. And in that moment, you have a tremendous choice to make. Are you ready to be reborn? Are you ready to eat your milchigs, to drink your milk? Are you ready to embrace a new chapter of life, a new page? Are you ready to start again? But it's not just time to be ready. Come into it with a plan. What do you want that new world to look like? Because it's nice to start again. Okay, yeah, I'm reborn, right? Fantastic, okay? Now what? Now what? If I don't know what I'm doing with this rebirth, if I don't know what I'm doing with this new beginning, then it's so easy just to lose sight of it and to lose the opportunity to create something new. This is our sacred mission in these days leading up to Shavuos. What do you want to do with your new world? What do you want to do with your rebirth? And if you can make that plan, if we can make that plan over the next couple of days, then when we enter into the Yantiv of Shavuos and we hear that moment of deafening silence, and I know now that's it, that's the moment that everything is recreated, I'll be ready to embrace that new beginning. I'll be ready to embrace that new world. I'll be ready to embrace that rebirth. I'll be ready to ingest not just the physical milchigs, but the message of the milchigs. And in Mirat Hashem, build something beautiful. Rus did it. Every single one of our incredible personalities of the history of our people have done it. And we have the koach to do the same. Kadosh Baruch Hu should give us incredible siyata d'shmaya. Kadosh Baruch Hu should give us incredible strength and courage. And we should be zochem Mirat Hashem to create and recreate something beautiful. All right, wishing everyone a beautiful Yantiv. I'll put out on the chat the women's shiur on Shavuos is going to be second day of Shavuos. I don't know the time. 5:45 on second day of Shavuos. If you are not on the WhatsApp chat, so you can see there's a QR code. I believe if you just scan that code, you can get onto the WhatsApp chat. I'll post all the information on there as well. Everyone should have a wonderful evening and a good Yantiv.